On May 24, 2014, TR Zeliang took over the reins from nephew Rio and was sworn in as the 10th Chief Minister of Nagaland, following nephew Rio's shift to national-level politics in Delhi. TR Zeliang, one of the most vibrant political personality in the present-day Naga politics, have had an illustrious political career spanning over 3 decades. From losing his home constituency twice in a row during his initial years in politics to becoming the 10th Chief Minister of Nagaland, the man has seen it all. But little do people know of this man's extraordinary struggles and his never-say-die attitude as he went on to become the most prominent figure in the present-day Naga politics. This is the story of a man who dared to dream. This is TR Zeliang's story so far. In the year 1952, during the peak Naga struggle for independence from the Indian government, a child was born in the cold winter of February 21st in a small village called Mbaupungwa. The village was inhabited by the Zeliang tribe and nestled in the far interiors of Peiren district of Nagaland, bordering the present-day Manipur. This child was born amidst a prophecy foretold to the mother by a woman with clairvoyant abilities, that she would give birth to a boy, and he shall grow up to be a great man and a leader. Taditui Rangkao Zeliang, better known as TR Zeliang, was born to Ranglo Rangkao Zeliang and Gaibui Rangkao Zeliang of the Zeliang tribe of Nagaland. He was the 6th child out of the 7 sons born to the couple. It is said that when TR Zeliang's mother, Gaibui, was experiencing labor pain with TR in her womb, she had a vision of a man in a white gown, and the man told her, "Gaibui, the child that you carry will be a son, and you shall christen him Taditui." After the birth of the child, Gaibui believed that the man was a messenger from God, asking her to name her child Taditui, which means to live a life and become a leader. So she named her son Taditui.
Tiarje nakarado apu bepok teidi. Jadi le anu ko bam betu telai bang pa bepok teibe je nara beta je tu naga idibi takadi. Jadi bijana idin takare le nang nu de taktilu. Jadi le pa tu na zikadi anu ya cuma ko bang pa je zikadi ragong le akacong ngekolo. Jadi meeting ngemle anu tau ko le de Miga pegunya hari luang luang kasab luang nang nada naza mi pay na naze naluza pezi kita di tuing taklo pas naigem de naiga mak di kita tele hello mi pu pay tele jinwa rangale
kina deba tadi tu betul nak kira be tinga apu kezekum gerakum bama Apa nada nak kerja, pasti kita itu tentak lonoi, de tengok de orang bawa. Sini betul nak tay itu je nak kilo pasti tara, saya akan tara be, apa ini ramai, pemramai, yang ramai. Acu orang apa ni le, apa ini nang na yang nak kerja kita itu tak lo, saya orang apa le. 现在的歌呗，这小辈也不是，古老年代呗，他们基本到的，这人呢，这对我呢不是人了不的，这现在他的对，这干打过来，在对子的。
Even as a small boy, TR Zeliang had something special about him and was loved by all in the village. His great-grandfather, Nam So, was very fond of him and would often carry him on his back or put him on his shoulders and walk around the village and narrate the young TR the stories of their forefathers and their struggles before they settled in Umbaupungwa. TR would listen patiently to his great-grandfather, and slowly he imbibed a sense of understanding about his culture and people. Even though he was just a small boy, he had the understanding of the struggles and the stories of his tribe. With good looks and the knowledge imparted by his great-grandfather, a young TR would charm and amaze everyone in the village with his knowledge about his forefathers and their journey to the present village. The elders in the village would gather inside the morung and listen to TR in awe as he would narrate the names of his forefathers even at such a tender age. It was as though the prophecy had already started to come true. During the early 50s, the Umbaupungwa village was almost cut off from the rest of the country and the world. The village would be hit with famine often, and the villagers would starve and face all sorts of hardships. And for a large family like TR's, life was even harder. His parents had faced great difficulty in raising their 7 sons, and they lived in abject poverty and hardship.
Hanu mi peina hangsana mi puna kapana lunglu cheluga anu lung reise ke anu pubna anu pe katena mata terega lung reise ke lungale che takte ma do ke teraga di che bamda no kang de anu karete raga chele tak ai jo kokka ge kai goru chele bchule ka je ai jo pelin ziteilu chele no kang karete raga anu hang mengai hang ro anu kokka kane kokte po samna kokka kane te chele ge no kang je te ra kang karete raga da ge jingma je no kang je aso ting tu pe ne kialu a chú pastable re ide te da lu a thai krai be pe chin je khang ka te ko na ne kin chi zam no te a te kam lu ge nam me ka che te da re ge sing tu pe ne te ra tu che no ge ki ai che re ide ki ai che le chin je tang am pang a lu che le no kang chan ne ma kang ge chum na anu hang meng ngai ngor te che re ge ka ne kang ka cha nu te lam ma le quand tu te nang kan ki le quand tu passes tu tu te me quand que tu na nu am nge hang rok te bam na le tu bi le ka tak te de anu te ke nu ki ke te raga che ge a tu pi bia bam me i te na me hang ka cha tu pi te te le gi suma ke ka lu anu jing kwak a yen da anu po te be kwak ai po pe anu ko ke re po la ma le hang nge hang rok che po kwak ta ka ne te ko nan tau go le te ta le
cái nằm đó từ lấy đấy nơi với được cho cái nằm là ra hàng lấy được cái chú từ lấy đó học phí từ lấy đó thế lấy đó ai cái tình cái gì thế này你学下做的呀学下học học 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 phí từ lấy nữa thế cái này bên ngô đồ thế nữa ý cái sạc bên phải sạc nữa ý cái thế nữa con học phí anh hãy bari ya cái anh sẽ lấy lấy anh pi bát lấy 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 đó thì rồi nó mọc mà đấy gà thì bên nữa thì chúng nó in hình cắm
Around the late 1950s, TR Zeliang and his family faced yet another hard time and a life-changing event. During the peak of Haraka movement for protecting Naga animistic practice and religion, TR Zeliang and his second son, Paurang, were asked to leave the village by its leaders because of their inclination towards Christianity. the Haraka movement under Rani Gaidinyo, a freedom fighter from Zeliang tribe, staunchly opposed any conversion to Christianity by any Naga, particularly from the Zeliang tribe who were spread across Manipur and Nagaland. A young TR followed his father and brother to their new settlement in Nkialwa village, some 12 kilometers from Umbaupungwa. Around the same time, a teacher named Zapufise had come to Umbaupungwa village as the first government-appointed teacher. TR got enrolled in the school nearby and started receiving his first formal education. Unfortunately, just a year later, Zapufise was abducted by the Naga army and taken away. The village once again was left without any teacher. But this did not deter TR from seeking education. And so, after a year of discontinuing his studies, he went to Peiren to continue with his schooling.
1957, I Pakistan day Pakistan paman kitong along long lo pelu de ja ami atsai su len pa che le se kana da ami po pai nam kya klo ne bo pungo long ke da ba kya klo hang long dai ra je ami po le nam na iriam po le I ago hege ami hang chum ne kya klo hang ami po pai nam ma hang ge ke te le long le.
By now, the young TR's life was already in turmoil. Seeing his parents being chased out from their own village because of their faith in Christ, amidst a life of continuous hardships, and his struggle to get an education had made him restless. Even at a tender age, he was experiencing the harsh realities of life, and this made him question his existence and the atmosphere around him. He would not talk much, and would spend most of his times alone in the wilderness near his village.
I have taken a long journey of up and down in my life, and all sorts of difficulties and hardships I have faced since my childhood. See, I was born in a village called Umbaupungwa village, which is one of the remote place in the state, that in Peiren district. In my village, when I was young, 4 or 5 years, there was no school. Because of this Haraka movement, Rani Gaidinyo freedom movement. My father and my brother, they have decided to convert into Christianity. So at that point of time, my village was very strong in this Haraka religion movement. No one is allowed to stay in the village if one is a Christian. So my father was excommunicated from the village. That period was like a nightmare. It was a very difficult time that my parents they faced.
TR Zeliang had a zeal to study, since no one in his family could pursue proper formal education. He would walk long hours from his home to reach his school through the narrow jungle road.
Now lo de bezai, although de besi me de germa, puna me de germa, pupe de germa, kangya me de germzing bezai, pa long ba zu a support de besui a long bam lei, now lo de long rei dan de tema, c'est pour lui ça de pas essayer SAP long da
TR had the letter pa nda hanablo lung chu aja ma do gde pa prata te lama anu pe chu ching me de be pu pe je de pe po je de ma do de prata lu e pa zu prata ba zu ma do de ngau de lam re.
Young TR would spend long hours in the wilderness alone. He would hunt birds and small animals and bring it home. Though he loved the nature and the mountains that surrounded his village, he was restless within. It was as though he wanted to break free from living in a small remote village, cut off from the rest of the world. He believed education was the only way to get his family out of the adversities they were facing. Education would also play a vital role in pulling his tribe away from the relative backwardness and closer to modern and better facilities. But fate had other things in store for the young TR. Just when he had completed his primary education, his mother passed away. It was a big blow to this young boy. However, this did not deter him from seeking further education. And so he left for Dibruga after being selected to study at Don Bosco School.
When I was in class 5, I was in the classroom. Then one man came from my village, Mr. Hailungong. Presently, he is chairman of Nkelo village. He came and called me out from my classroom and told me that your mother is seriously ill, so you are asked to come home. So from the classroom, I carried my books, went to the hostel, kept my book, and then came to village. Then when I reached village, my mother was not in the position to talk. She became unconscious because she had a stroke the previous evening. So she did not talk to me. So I have seen that my dad, my brothers and neighbors all were crying. But for me, I don't want to show crying in front of people. So I went behind the house, the kitchen garden. I rubbed my tears, came back, and the next night she passed away.
Budi di program aning baran pi bodi ge hanu kalogo re ge hezo ke zo de zo ji mi de zo pe to pu ma ta ke wong zo pe to pu de na ni ke zo ben ho de ram me zo ben zo zo pe to pu ga ta dao le pa kan ta den ta ji lei de dei ji lei de ngo ji ram de ngo ji le bod da de ti ji tu.
When TR joined Don Bosco School in Dibruga, the infrastructure provided him a platform not only for better education, but also to hone his sporting skills. He went on to represent the school football team and helped his team win the district championship in Dibruga, following which his team won the inter-district championship of Assam. They represented the state at the national level championship at Delhi, with all the 10 players in the starting lineup from Nagaland. For a boy who had come from one of the most remote places of Nagaland, these opportunities played a very crucial role in developing his personality. When everything seemed to be going fine in TR's life, another major incident hit him. After his matriculation and in the second year of high school at Don Bosco School, TR was diagnosed with a life-threatening malaria and typhoid and was admitted to Assam Medical College in Dibruga. Without much choice, he had to withdraw from his school and return to Nagaland, where he joined the Tening Higher Secondary School. Soon after TR finished high school, he joined Kohima College as a BA first-year student. Being one of the few persons from Kialua village to pursue higher studies, TR had immense pressure, not just from his family, but from the entire village, who started to look up to him with hope. Whenever he would come back from his school for vacations, elders and youths from the village nearby would flock around him and request him to write applications for them. There was already a sense of responsibility building up in TR's shoulders to represent the voice of his people in the village and the surrounding villages. And like a prophecy coming true again, his elders advised him to join politics when he had just stepped into college. Soon after, TR started a logging business. Further, seeing his people in the village finding it hard to commute and venture towards cities for job opportunities and businesses, he persuaded his brothers to get a bus for the villagers. TR, along with his brothers, obtained a loan from the bank and started a bus service from Peiren to Dimapur. The bus service proved to be a boon to the villagers, who had long been cut off from the other townships, which had access to better amenities.
Sang Ramaze Anu Namsuma Zipa Ankachupa Parable, Chilunaga, Anurama Paragare, Chidi, Namadesamede, Penua Paragare, Chidi, Tina, TR Zipa Parable, Nepa Anulang Pakale.
Ma đầu de bakang maje regular ma ta chi I betun chabam la le chi chubam la pa supira dai sukia kolei katative ichita di chi chubam 1982 dau election na sabra aka tening ria achulang dige istay la re chudige Popling the bow, Gang Puram Borame, Nang Telaka, Haname Chowi to wear. Nang chosen to be payro, to wear Animina Hang Tum Zelangabule. They get pay me get TR Zeliang the tourist hotel, room number 7 na Bamlele. It took a TR EBG Tumale, Tatui, ho. Nang Emily Sam Nulo, Emily Sabran to pay out the day to yo. Nó sẽ khi mình sắp chia luôn, bắt chú lên, ngã từ năm mình bảo anh đi ra mình chú thấy rồi, ý, chỉ là cái công cái hành nào luôn cái chú cái trang năng mình kỹ cái này chú gì, anh công tác rằng lên chú lăng này lao lên đấy, chú cho, nhà rằng chỉ lao lên, quăng, bề mà số chính mà基本真保lên chú lên, chú cái quăng保cái bị kim gì, sắp vào đấy, thấy phía đấy chú lên.
After I left the college, and as soon as I got married, my village and surrounding villages, they have passed a resolution that I should contest in election, 1982. Then my wife and myself to contest in election, she differed from me. Why should I contest? How can I contest? We don't have money, we don't have property. Election means it's very costly affairs. But when the pressure came from all the villages, surrounding villages, I was influenced and I have decided to contest.
In the year 1980, TR Zeliang got married to Kavizino Rankau. Young Kavizino had in a way brought more stability in TR's life and guided him all through his decisions. They shared a special bond, and she stood with him through thick and thin.
It was a very difficult time for us. We were in a rented house. We didn't have any vehicle and we are in short of money. So I could not decide myself to let him contest. But with the help of his brothers, and the pressure came so much from the villagers, from the public, he has to accept it.
TR Zeliang Jim Roga, Machi Parai to Bocolele. Evgenia Nulia Bolo Manga Picleja, and Ngadre, the Pologa Garim Pulega, Harry Sang, Mi Pine Carluza Town, Takuza, Timbaleta, Kiran Kanlega, Mamale Maketugale, Regu Sang Legumza, combating Tatabamle.
1982 election खेली वो कोई ना हाँ टाइम तो हमारे खान क्लास फोटो था किसे हमारे खान ताई लगा कि किनेका से की टाइप से मोखन रिमेम्बर करा तो ताई तो एकदम ठंडा मानो से और ताई मानो के कितने भी मुख परा ताई लगा नियम परा आदत परा कितने भी मानो के हार्ट्स करा मानो नहीं ताई एकदम पीस लविंग मानो से हमारे जात सुतो जेलियांग मानो दुईटा असेंबली कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी थे ऐसे वे भी इतना नागालैंड ते चीफ मिनिस्टर करो पारा तो इतो ईश्वर लगा ब्लेसिंग परा ऐसे हमारे जेलियांग मानो पारा नहीं हमारे जेलियांग मानो डांगोर जात बीसे एमएलए थका पारा नहीं वे भी इतो ईश्वर परा है हमारे के मदद करीने ईश्वर ला ब्लेसिंग परा इतो TR Zeliang आज निकातक पारा से.
Living true to the prophecy foretold in the dream of TR's mother, the young boy who enchanted everyone with his charisma was now set to face the most difficult times of his life. In the year 1982, in a sudden turn of events before the assembly election in Nagaland, 4 villages of Tusan, 3 villages of Umbaupungwa, and 2 villages of Nchangram held a meeting and decided that there should be a candidate from each one of these villages for the upcoming election. At this juncture, they had to pick one candidate each from their respective village. TR was picked as the candidate from Umbaupungwa village, and since the 2 candidates of Tusan and Changram village refused to contest the election, it was now upon TR to fight the election. Gradually, the leaders of 13 villages spread across Peiren came to him and assured him of their support in the ensuing election. But when the election drew nearer, TR got a major blow to his campaign. Some villages who had promised their support to him started to change their stand as the election closed in.
In course of this campaign, when election polling date was drawn nearer, people started changing their stand. So I was really amazed how people can change with such short period of time. I moved on to the campaign. Since I have decided, I went up to the last and we lost in the election.
After having tasted the first defeat in the election and the betrayal by some of the villagers, TR decided it was only wise to continue the fight than sit down and regret about the things that went against him. His wife too voluntarily resigned from her job to join him in the mission he had started. Now fully determined to come back stronger, Mr. Zeliang filed his nomination as a Naga National Democratic Party (NNDP) candidate in the 1987 Nagaland Assembly election, but lost again. This time, the margin narrowed down, and he had lost by just 53 votes amidst controversy surrounding the ballot counting of his constituency. Initially, it was declared that TR had won, but later the news came about that the counting of the ballots of one of the villages had been missed out. TR had lost by 53 votes. Trouble started brewing in Hokeshe Sema ministry just 8 months after the government was formed. The ministry collapsed and President's rule was imposed. Fresh elections took place in 1989. TR Zeliang filed his nomination for the 3rd time and won for the first time. But what seemed like a smooth sail, having had his first victory, things took a turn for the worse. After the subsequent toppling of the government under SC Jamir and Vamuzo Pesao, KL Chishi formed the government. For the first time, TR Zeliang was appointed Minister of State for Tourism and Publicity. But within 30 days, crisis struck again, and Vamuzo Pesao took over the government. Later, TR would be disqualified under anti-defection law and would be forced to spend most of the years as a member of Legislative Assembly, running around the courts to revoke his disqualification.
I got elected, but I could not do much for the people, and because of this, we spent most of our time in the court. But at last, just before the announcement of this, the next election, we have won the case.
Having spent almost all his 5 years running around the court for the revocation of his disqualification, TR had not been able to do anything for his constituency, and the 1993 Assembly election had been declared already. He once again decided he would fight the election and filed his nomination through the Indian National Congress ticket. During this time, there was a sudden surge of sympathy and support by the public for TR. He won the election by a huge margin of votes, and he was inducted as the Minister of Forest in the SC Jamir government the following year. The 1998 and 2002 Assembly elections were the two most difficult elections in TR Zeliang's political career. In 1998, the Nagaland, the regional party NPC, and the underground group decided that there should be solution first, election second. And so they all boycotted the election that year. But despite all these boycotts, the Congress Party decided to go ahead with the election, amidst the warning that no candidate should file the nomination. TR decided to file the nomination since his party had sent strict directives to all the candidates who had received party tickets to go ahead with the election.
Day and night, underground leaders, they used to come to me and they used to tell me that you should not file nomination. If you file nomination, it will be at your own risk.
Similarly, in the year 2003, the underground group issued a directive to all the contesting candidates that they could contest from any other party besides the Congress Party. It was another major blow for TR, since he was in the Congress Party and had received a party ticket to run for the election. Owing allegiance to his party, TR filed his nomination only to receive the news that his chief agent had been taken away by the underground group as a caution to him to withdraw from the election.
When I went for filing up nomination, on my way I was stopped by underground leaders. So I told them, no, I'll go to Peren. If other district do not file nomination, I'll not file nomination and come back. But if all other district file nomination, then I'll also file. So I went there, listening to radio that 24, 25 already filed nomination. So I filed nomination and came back. And fortunately, nobody filed nomination from other party. So I got uncontested.
After the polling of the 2003 election, when the results were declared, it surprised and baffled everyone in the political fraternity and the public alike. Like a miracle, TR Zeliang was elected with a huge margin of votes. Despite being threatened with dire consequences if anyone were to vote for TR, the public had secretly voted him to power.
That was another nightmare that I have faced election, and which I have never faced in my lifetime. My wife was asked to convey to me that your husband should retire. Withdrawal date is over, but he should retire. And if he go up to the last, he'll face consequences. So she came and told me that your life is more important. Let us stop from here. But I said, no, they will not take our life. I have confidence that they will not take our life. It's okay. God is there. Let us go ahead. To our surprise, counting day, I got elected by a margin of more than 2,000. We were really shocked that in such kind of situation, how people could vote for us. So thereby I came to know that election is not by our money, our strength, but God is behind us. From there, I truly believe that unless God help us, we cannot be elected in election. That is how I came to know through that election. And that was the worst election that we have faced.
In his long career in politics, overcoming the toughest hurdles and obstacles right from his childhood made TR see life in a different perspective. Just as any man would, he lives with some regrets, some dreams, some aspirations that he still holds on to like a small child.
By 2004, I was inducted as Minister of Geology and Mining. So after a few months, I was called by Chief Minister to come up. When I came up, I was asked to decide to go as MP. That's not my intention, and that's beyond my dream. So how can I think of? At last, party, central office, and the Chief Minister and colleagues' pressure came that I should go. So at last I have decided. That was a hard decision that I had to take. And I went to Delhi as Rajya Sabha MP.
Within 4 years of serving as a Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. Zeliang would be called back to the state where a difficult situation awaited him, and he had to make a hard decision.
Before I complete 4 years, again Chief Minister called me to Kohima. He asked me to come back to state. Then I was shocked again. Initially, I was not happy to be MP. My supporters stopped me. But going in Parliament, and I was used to this fighting for a project. Again, another hard decision I had to take. I was asked to contest from Peren, leaving my constituency, Tining.
Growing up in a village, almost hidden from the outside world, amongst his brothers and his people, TR imbibed familial and human values from his great-grandfather and elders. He continues to give his first priority to his family and relationships with his people, even after being constantly occupied with an arduous task of leading the mass. He carries the legacy of his forefathers and their teachings. Even his staunch political opponents today vouch for Mr. Zeliang as a humble and cool-tempered man. He is known as a person who never gives in to anger under any circumstance, a quality he has kept along all through his life.
It's not always a bed of roses. People may think we enjoy life every day, but it's not like that. Whenever, people criticize my father, or whenever there's, a policy going wrong, we all take the beating ourselves. And it is we're under constant scrutiny and criticism along with him. So sometimes that is very difficult.
In today's world, with the social media being very strong in the society, it is a challenge for all of us to be facing all hate comments and etc. on the social media.
I've always been kept away from politics, but somehow you get involved, and criticisms we face every day through social media, through newspapers, but then I guess that's made us more tolerant and acceptable towards what people has to say about us.
Our dad as a Chief Minister is not a perfect person, he's also a human being. So we've never taken this kind of negative comments or all of these negative comments personally, but as a correction to our mistake, because we're all human beings and mistakes do happen.
Despite of his busy schedule in life, he used to always take out time and drop us after our vacation to school, and also attend every events like our sports meet, school events.
Over 3 decades in active politics and donning numerous hats, the man definitely has come a long way from a small, sleepy village in the far interiors of Nagaland. Like a prophecy coming true, he has occupied the highest position and today continues to serve the state and his people. A small boy who dared to dream beyond the horizons of the mountains and the valleys, he took a journey braving all the struggles and hurdles life threw at him. He continues to take the long, winding, difficult road ahead of him. The journey continues for a man who still dares to dream and live through the prophecy.
To me, truly speaking, when I have problem, when people criticize me, I don't feel guilty, because what I'm doing and what my concept is right. So I always think that people, those who criticize me, will realize one day that they are wrong. I believe in that. And I believe that the truth will always prevail. Now today, women reservation, people are criticizing, cursing, rally, and boycotting this election. But one day, I believe that people will realize this is a global concept, that women should be given a privilege to serve the people. And wherever in India, whichever state they have implemented this women reservation, they are happy. And for a state like Kerala, they have gone up to this 55% reservation, seat reservation for women. And I asked them, why government of India has passed the act only for 33% women reservation, but why have you gone to 55? Then MLAs, ministers that who visited me when I was in Kerala, they told me that what to do, they are doing better. Town and city management, to keep the city clean, that management and development, women representative, they are doing better than men. I wish I will complete this political journey after, say, a few years or so, and then I would like to have a retired life with the family, because during these 3 decades or more, I did not have a family life. I would like to have a retired life with family in the village or outside the village. Actually, I don't like the city life. So I might go back to village and live a peaceful and retired life. With the blessing of my mother from God, I think not by muscle power, not by money power, but I have reached to this stage. We believe that it is from God. The blessing has come from God and then from my mother and my great-grandfather. So we believe in that. But while traveling this journey, a rough road, I have faced a lot of problems, and I never expect that I'll reach up to this level, because we are a small tribe. We have only 2 MLAs, and I can never dream of to become Chief Minister of the state. But well-wishers and friends from other tribes, they have confidence in me, they have trust in me. That's why they have elected me to this place, which is beyond my aspiration and my dream.